Welcome to the Big Fat Real Estate Checks podcast with Marco Kozlowski, where we help investors like you get the knowledge and skills you need to replace your JOB with passive cash flow for life.
Hey everyone, welcome to hopefully a very exciting podcast. Today we're going to discuss my problems with a property that I had very recently up in New York State, in the Adirondacks. I have a ski lodge up there, and shit hit the fan. And it always does in the worst possible time, at the worst possible moment. And we are going to discuss the trying tales of what just happened to me within the last week. And it's been extremely trying. It actually sucked up a whole week of mine. And some of the fun and trials and tribulations of owning hotels, real estate in general, and the things that can go wrong. Now, of course, we have tons of systems in place for things that could go wrong, and we have checks and balances for that. But some things do fall through cracks, and interesting things can happen. We're going to discuss that. And of course, today I'm joined with my two compadres, Frank Galuccio and Gabriel Araiz. And I'm excited to actually tell them the tale, because I haven't told them much at all, saving it for this podcast so you guys can all hear what's going on at the same time. They know something happened. They know there was trauma. They know there was a lot of crap going on. But man, it was hard. It was quite hard. And of course, if you have not liked and loved this podcast or started following it and downloading it on a regular basis, please do. Make sure you go back to the very beginning if you can, at least the first top 10 episodes, so you can understand how we buy assets using none of our own money, using asset-based lenders. And of course, our mission, our passion, our vision for any listener is for you to get involved in cash flowing assets, buying cash flowing assets using none of your own money, using asset-based lenders, so you can build a nest egg for yourself, your family, and enjoy cash flow for life, so you can do what you love, not what you have to do. So, boys, I'm back. Or as Schwarzenegger would say, I'm back.
I'm itching to hear this.
Oh my goodness. So, as you know, I was teaching a class on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, a real estate class, virtual real estate class. I'm in Zoom. I haven't actually taught this class in many years. It's the residential class. I teach mostly commercial classes, and decided to dust off and revamp a residential class, because I know as the economy is going to turn in 2021, I believe that there's going to be some great opportunities in residential, and that's what I started with. In fact, that's, Gabe, how we met, and Frank as well. I only taught residential at that time, and now the cycle is, I think, going back to that, where there's a ton of money to be made in residential, and I have the lenders and necessary systems, thanks to you guys, put in place in order to help and service as many humans as possible. So I'm teaching this class, and I'm extremely energetic, as you guys know. I have tons of energy, and I'm just enjoying myself teaching this class. And then I get it. I have probably 30 missed calls from my property manager up in New York, and I'm like, what the hell's going on? And I'm listening to these messages, and the guy is livid. He's upset, and he's going absolutely bananas. And there's litanies of texts and emails and just blasphemous, terrible things that this guy is saying. And my partner, a student of mine who's out of Finland, very sweet lady. This woman is just a very sweet woman. She wanted to get into the hotel business. I mentored her through that. She actually owns 2 hotels, and she didn't know how to cope with this extremely cantankerous property manager that just completely went off the rails. And I don't understand what's going on. And again, I'm teaching, and I'm really focused on the students that are in front of me. It's very difficult for me to just say, hey class, I gotta go. I gotta deal with this crap on the other end. So this is like the worst possible time for this to happen. Almost like it was planned that I couldn't handle things, very, very well.
And this was day 1 of your class, which is a 3-day class, right?
It was day 2, actually.
Day
so
2?
Friday was it? Maybe it was day 1. Maybe it was on Friday. No, I think it was on Saturday, because when I went there, apparently Friday was packed. It was a $3,000 day at the inn. Just the inn, just the food and beverage was $3,000 that day. That obviously we didn't see, but it was Saturday. Saturday was when his shit hit the fan.
Okay.
Yeah, but yeah. and it was not easy. So, and I don't want to get into too personal, letting things out from my business partner, but my business partner wears her heart on her sleeve. She's active, sharing her thoughts and feelings on Facebook and on social media, like most people do. And this couple, who we still don't know why they're completely going bananas, just sends these emails where, wishing her death, wishing my death, looking, for people that are, that are haters, and how they can circle the wagons and just make our lives completely miserable. Now, they're live-in managers, which means that in the state of New York specifically, and with quarantine laws and with eviction laws right now in New York, for me to evict them, because they do live on premises, I would have to go through an eviction process, and that would take a very long time, meaning that because this is a ski lodge and they're there, and by the way, they canceled every reservation for the month of December. They shut down our websites. They basically kiboshed the entire business. They even sent a letter to our flag saying that we are canceling the flag and please cancel all online access. So and they did this like in a very, very orchestrated series of events. They went on my social media and posted terrible comments online on every podcast, every YouTube video, my Facebook, my Instagram. I'm telling you, they just went, not just one comment, they stayed up till 5 a.m. spamming my social media over and over and over and over and over again. This is on Saturday. So it was I've never seen such evil behavior in my life. It was nuts.
Wow.
It was really crazy.
Marco, I got to intervene here. So it sounds like, a horror story, 100%. But and I know you do your due diligence, and I know your partner that you're speaking of. Did you guys vet I know we do some, you vet your managers, obviously. You do some background checks or whatever. But did you actually do criminal background checks? This sounds like maybe this is orchestrated as a scam. To get them to either have squatter rights, or maybe not even squatter rights because they can't prove it, and it's going to be very hard to alter documents that are registered with the county and so forth. But maybe to stay there for a certain amount of time, and they know the laws, and maybe they can get free housing at the same time. So when you interviewed, I'm assuming you interviewed these people like face to face, or whether on Zoom or on some kind of platform where you can actually see them, so you can see their behavior, see how they react to some questions, and do background checks. How did it come to this?
Great question. So we had a couple before this couple, and they decided that, and they worked very hard, and we were supposed to be closed for 2 days. They decided to open 7 days a week. And they burned out, and they were like, we need to double our pay. And they were serving breakfast in the morning, at lunch, at dinner. They were burning themselves out burning the candles at both ends, and they just wanted to be there all the time. And we said, don't do this. And I'm not the one that was managing these managers. My partner was out of Finland. And I learned something in that just because you're really good at the real estate side or understanding how to acquire things, managing managers is a completely different skill set. And managing managers, you can't necessarily be kind. And there's a cultural difference between Americans and people from Finland. Just a very large cultural difference. So her always being sweet and nice and saying, you can run the place like you want it, ended up creating more of a problem than it could have been. So there was a real lack of boundaries with the first couple. Right. And so they just left. And when they left, it was not a good time. We were actually completely booked. And they said, you know what, we're out. We got to go. So they just wanted to leave. So now, and because my partner is in Finland and with quarantine, she can't fly and fix it. And I have a full schedule, so there's no way I'm going to do it. So she's like, well, what are we going to do? We got to find another couple. So I said, well, just here are the things you got to do to find another couple, just like we did the first couple. We actually found this couple, and she interviewed maybe 30, 40 people. This couple was, popped out like a pimple. It was like and it's pretty apropos at this point, right? They popped out like a pimple. And I had an interview with them. And at that time, I was up in Canada taking care of my parents. And I was quarantining up in Canada. And when this was going on, they passed this. If you have to quarantine for 14 days, if you leave your house, your neighbor can report you, and there's up to $500,000 fine, and and it's bananas. So I was literally just quarantining. So I couldn't go anywhere. I was with my parents, taking care of them, and hired these people. They're like, the hotel just sold that we were working for, and we're in an RV right now in California, and we're able to just go, and we can be there by Tuesday. If as long as you pay for our gas, we'll be there. And they had experience. So I had asked the partner to check out references and get a background check, which did not do.
Okay, because I was going to say, when someone's eager, and I learned this lesson too, when someone's eager and can step into a position the next day or within a moment's notice, that's a red flag for me. Because
100%.
I fell into the same trap, and I'll never do it again. As much as you're desperate, I know you're in a desperate situation because she's quarantined, you're quarantined, no one's running the shop, it's empty there. But that's definitely red flag number one for me. Continue.
Well, and they interviewed well, and they had experience. They knew what they were doing. Literally, they knew what they were doing. So she didn't check the references, which again is another red flag. There were definitely balls dropped. So. But the conversation, so again, this is all, hindsight is always 20/20. In retrospect, here are all the things I could have done, right? Mm-hmm. So they get there, and my partner is treating them the same way, with the same latitude, with, carte blanche. Like, you know what you're doing, you make the property better. So small things start happening where the other couple, the way that we structure our couples, they're under the umbrella of a corporation, an LLC, or a corp, or some sort of entity that we pay. We don't pay the couple directly. We always pay it through some entity. The reason is entities cannot be considered an employee. So it's a contract between the company and the hotel. So we had all this set up, at least that properly done. And they came back and says, hey, we worked here almost 24 hours. We live here, slept here. We want workers' compensation. We want this, we want that. We want, back pay and all this crap. So I'm like, okay, here's our lawyer's number. Get this handled. And, we've already structured this correctly, so we don't have anything to worry about. Just have the lawyer talk to them. And now she is really persnickety with spending money, right? She's looking at every dollar all the time, which she should be, which is very good. And she knows the lawyer's going to cost a couple grand in order to get this done. So she's like, the managers are saying that they can handle it. I'm like, no, I really want the lawyer to do it. Like, it's an investment for multiple reasons. We want this gone, and we don't want this to bite us in the ass later. Get the lawyer to do it. She's like, well, I want to, the managers that are there now, the new managers, all right, let's call them Bill and Ted. All right. So Bill and Ted, they are, it's a male and female, but maybe Bill or Ted Ted could be short for something else, but whatever. So Bill and Ted are there now, and they are saying that they'll take care of it and it's no problem. And I'm like, okay, look, I'm not going to argue with you. I'm telling you what to do. This is also your hotel. Go ahead, if you think you can handle this. But I highly recommend, again, I'm the mentor. Yes, I own a piece of this, but I'm still her mentor. So I'm telling her what to do, and she has to learn to follow directions. And if she doesn't choose to do that, there's going to be consequences. Anyway, I don't hear about anything else, right? So things happen here and there. Not a big deal. I hear about what's going on. I get a report. And then I get an email from Bill and Ted saying, hey, we're working on a new website. You're paying too much money on OTAs, and OTAs are hotels.com, Orbitz, Expedia, all that stuff, right? So we're paying too much money. They take a percentage. I want to open up our own portal so people can actually book direct. And I thought we actually had that, but which apparently we didn't. And then they say, well, I want to open up a merchant account. So I want to go to TD and open a merchant account so we can have this thing set up. I'm like, why would you want to open up a merchant account? We have a merchant account. We have a processor. Just click, just tie it to ours. And he says, well, your merchant account doesn't work. It's like, of course it works. I see transactions happening all the time. And this was on Thursday before the Saturday. All right. So I think nothing of it because they go, fine, we'll figure this out. So when someone asks you, is building a website and wants to plug in their merchant account, what do you think is about to happen?
They're scooping all that money, buddy. That's another
Misdirection.
There's a lot of red flags here.
That didn't settle well with me. And then when I communicate with my partner, I'm like, this is not okay. Like this is, and they're like, no, they're fine. I talk to them every day. They're very sweet. I trust them. I'm like, this is not good. And I have a class this weekend, but on Monday, there has to be something done about this. There has to be something done about this on Monday. Well, dun 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 dun. Well, they took care of business themselves. So they had their busy Friday night. Fridays is very busy at the lodge, very very busy. Saturdays as well, actually. So I think they opened on Friday and Saturday. They just were horrific to us, literally telling my partner she should kill herself. She's a piece of crap. Just extremely slanderous, like really terrible. We're going to do terrible things to this place and you're never going to get us out. Like we're going to burn the place down before we leave. So I call state police in my breaks while I'm teaching this thing. And I'm like shaking because I'm so angry, but I can't show that I'm angry when I'm teaching because these are new people that want to learn something. And I have a responsibility to the people in front of me to give 100% Marco, not, a half Marco, not a super clear, crisp, extremely good experience, period. And I think your wife attended that one, Frank.
And it's not their fault, right? Like
I can't blame them. I can't tell them what's going on other than I'm having a couple problems, which I did. But inside, I'm dying, and on the outside, I'm like, this is I like, hi everyone, jazz fingers, and it was hard. It was a very very hard weekend. It knocked the snot out of me. So anyway, I'm calling state police. State police gets there. And by the end of, and when they get there, they don't understand what's going on. And the first question he says is, what does he want? What does the guy want? It was a really good question because I never asked. What do you want? Like, what is it that you actually are looking for? Because you're having all these threats, and this is, you're saying you don't want to leave. You're all pissed off. Well, what the hell do you want? So I asked the guy, what do you want? And the guy says, I want $10,000 on Monday. That's what he wants, $10,000.
Come on, he put a ransom on this shit?
Extortion.
I want $10,000 on Monday, or I'm never leaving. $10,000 for no reason, just to be there, right? So I'm like, what? What do you want 10 grand for? For what? Just I want $10,000, or I'm not in. I'm just. That's it. You're never gonna see me go. I'm like, okay. So I didn't say okay. I'm just like in my head, okay. Now I understand what the guy wants. All right. So the guy is just, it's a shakedown, basically.
That's exactly what it is.
It's a shakedown. So again, I'm pretty upset. I have a problem. I can sleep through anything. I have a very clean conscience. Every day I do my absolute best. I give everyone as much value as I can. And when I sleep, I'm good. Very rarely can I not sleep. And that was one of the nights. And again, I've taught all day. I'm stressed out of my mind. And on the Sunday, I have to also give my best. And I'm mulling this over in my head, like, what am I going to do here? So, in fact, what I did, as in the middle of the night, I actually called one of my, now, just as a sidebar, remember when I went to Miami a few weeks ago? I met some billionaires at a charity function. And in this charity function, there were some ex-Navy SEALs that were there. And these guys are entrenched in all parts of business all over the world. So, and I know the guy never sleeps. These guys are vampires. I think they mostly are awake during the night and sleep maybe 2 hours during the day. I don't understand how these guys can function, but I don't know what they do, but it's bananas. So I call my buddy, and he was actually in Mexico on his yacht with I could hear a lot of cheering going on, and this is at 2:00 in the morning. So it was very interesting. So anyway, I call this guy, and he's like, John. He's like, yeah. I'm like, I need help here. He's like, what's going on? All right. And then he puts me in contact with someone else out of New York who's also up. And then he owns a security company that does business in the special forces specifically. These are ex-special forces Marines that are extremely high-end bodyguards that were in militia or hunted humans for a living, really. That's the only way that I can say it. They hunt humans for a living for their governments, and now go into the private sector and do private contracting. Ex-FBI, CIA, we're talking like very high-end suit-wearing individuals, James Bond type people that have concealed carries to go on like planes. Like they have very special high-end permits to do stuff that is pretty terrifying.
Basically, they put Frank's boys to shame.
Yeah, they do it legally. They do it legally.
Maybe they do it legally.
So on Saturday, so he said, "Listen, we're gonna get this sorted out. We're gonna help you." So they made a phone call, and the guy drove from these guys drove from New York City to it's a 4.5 hour drive, and was there actually on Sunday. On Sunday.
Yeah.
So literally just picked up and left. And the guy was like, "Who are you?" He wouldn't let them on premises. He called the police, and this guy, he was alone, right? And I have experience when you are alone and there are two people and there's an altercation, it's two people's word against one. So you never want to have a violent confrontation. And the guy's doesn't have a license to kill. He's not on contract for the U.S. government. He can't whack these guys.
Marco, did you call a hit? Is that a hit?
It wasn't a hit. It wasn't a hit.
Smells like a hit. Walks like a hit. It may be a hit, but there was no hit at the end. I hope there's no hit at the end.
There's no hit. No, definitely not.
Okay,
I'm a lover, not a fighter.
Yeah. I should have had popcorn with this story. Yes.
So this is boring. Please stop me at any moment.
Not at all.
This guy, he goes in and he's like, let's just talk, and the guy's like, I'm going to take pictures of your license plate. I want to take pictures of your face. He's like, well, here's my card, research me, see who I am, here you go. And the guy takes his card. He's like, and starts yelling really angrily at the guy. And I had a room for him that we booked. And the guy said, the hotel's closed. You can't stay here. So that was actually good that he did that, because by doing that, now I have cause that he's ruined the business and he's turning customers away. And if I had to get an injunction, I could find a way to remove him, even if I couldn't evict him from where he was staying in the manager's quarters into another room. I would most likely get an approval from the judge just so we could continue to do business while they got evicted. So I needed some evidence, and I did everything in by email. So I sent someone in. They're there to protect the property, and they will be let in and they will be admitted, and he didn't do that. So on Saturday, he started talking like this. I said, "You're terminated. You must leave immediately." And then that's when he went into this rant. So I'm just collecting. So every email he's sending, it's evidence at this point. So I'm being very strategic. I've calmed down at this point because at least I know there's someone there that is at least watching the place. And the guy just wouldn't be let in. He says, I'm not going to do anything. I'm just going to watch, because I'm not here to do anything other than just to make sure the building is protected. And I don't want to do anything that's going to hurt you, Marco. I want to make sure that they know what they're doing, right? They've been in gunfights, yeah. I'm sure, where their blood pressure goes down when there's when there's a gunfight or when they're fighting. They just they're just like Born Identity, don't even care. Yeah. It's like, this is
their heart rate's at like 6 per minute.
Yes, exactly. They're athletes. This is crazy shit. So the event's over, and I'm like, how am I going to get to New York? I'm looking at flights, and this is north of Albany, so I couldn't fly to New York City. I wanted to get there as quickly as I can, and I ended up actually flying into New York City, and then on Monday morning at 6:00, I hopped in a flight, and I was greeted by another gentleman. Let's call him Paul. And Paul is also ex-military, he was actually in charge of, I don't even know if I'm supposed to say this, but I changed his name. So anyway, ex-counterterrorism around the world. So, and actually taught ex-counterterrorism, terrorism, and how to handle. Even he was in many countries.
So you got some people that took down ISIS to come down and take down this guy at the hotel.
So I have
and the Taliban.
I have Paul, and I'm putting this in quotation marks because his name's not Paul. And then I have another guy, and let's call him for Frank's compadres. Let's call him Vinny. So we have another guy, Vinny, that we actually Vinny went up on Sunday as well. So there was 2 people that were there just to back him up, and they wouldn't go into the building. And I basically said, I'm going to be there on Monday, and you can, I am just basically saying, look, sticks and stones will break my bones, but names will never hurt me. Basically, it's like your bully tactics are not going to work on me. You're not going to get a rise out of me. I'm not going to incriminate myself. I'm not going to call you names. I'm just going to go there. I'm going to assess the situation and know that I'm protected with armed people. So I'm going to go and I'm going to get access to my building, and I'll either, I'm not going to remove you forcefully. I'm going to do everything within the confines of the law, but know that I'm with armed people that know what the hell they're doing. And I will be there Monday morning. This is on Sunday that I'm telling him this. He's like, I'm ready for you, you mother effer. He's like really, really pissed. I get there on Monday. The guy's gone. They packed up and they left. And this is the weirdest part. It was spotless. It was clean.
Wow. They didn't trash the place. Nothing.
They didn't trash the place. They laid it out like it was Christmas. And I'm not kidding. It was like perfectly placed. All the alcohol was not disrupted. They swept the floors. It was spotless, which is astounding. And I couldn't.
That's how they get rid of fingerprints. And just on a side
is that how
note.
they do it?
Hold on. Did the
I heard-
managers do this?
I heard-
Or did the
It's
armed,
not over.
Did the managers do this, or did the armed people clean?
You scrub after yourself while you're walking out.
It was amazing, and I was like, they made such a fuss that they literally. The emails were like, you're going to have to drag me out, forcefully from a judge's order for me to get out of here. I can't wait to see this happen. Like you're basically just being extremely, extremely difficult. And it was all talk and no action. And it was very interesting, but they were very destructive and very disruptive emotionally for myself and my partner. Now, I learned something, obviously. If you're not asking the right questions, or if you're giving the rule of the roost to the people that are doing this, you're going to get screwed. No matter how good, everyone that I spoke to, by the way, now there's a quarantine laws in New York, so I couldn't do much when I was there. I wasn't even supposed to be with, what I call them, Paul and Vinny. So I wasn't even supposed to be with them. I was supposed to be quarantining, but because they picked me up from the airport, I guess whatever, maybe they didn't care. I don't know, but I had to go upstairs and quarantine myself. I'm thinking like, how could I have solved this earlier? And we didn't have any background checks on these people, which you have to do. And interestingly enough, so I started immediately looking for someone new while I was there. And we're taking inventory of food, and because it is a restaurant, it is a bar. And Frank, I'm not going to lie to you or Gabriel, I found maybe 150 cucumbers all over the place. So the only thing that was bizarre about this whole, I know, I could see your face, cucumbers. 150 cucumbers, at least. We had cucumbers. There was cucumbers in the bed. There were cucumbers in drawers. There were cucumbers in the bathroom. There were cucumbers when you open the fridge, cucumbers. When you open the bar, there was cucumbers that were like, it was like they had placed cucumbers everywhere, which makes no sense.
So the horse's head got replaced by cucumbers.
It was the
as a
most
sign.
weird.
Is there a drug that's out of cucumbers that I don't know of? Like,
maybe I gotta whack you with the cucumber. That's a whack.
It was so strange how many cucumbers we had. It was bizarre. There's a sauna downstairs, cucumbers there. Anywhere you look, there were cucumbers.
That's
and it's really funny. But it doesn't make any sense. It just made me mad because I'm like, why are these cucumbers here? It was very, very surreal and very bizarre. So
Did you slice them open? Some of them?
No. We actually, I had them washed, and I gave all the food that we had because we couldn't open as a restaurant, and it was a fairly decent sized kitchen, and we gave away to the food bank.
I was going to say maybe they stashed some drugs in there, but hopefully all those people
they'll
at the
find
food
out,
bank had a really happy time.
No, we washed them. We had, I inspected them. They were good cucumbers, so we're not like tampered with. At least I didn't see that they were, but I decided to give everything away. It's the holidays, and if the food's going to go bad, then they'll throw it away. I think and I told them, listen, these cucumbers were left here. If you guys want to inspect them or do whatever, I take no responsibility. I just don't want the food to go to waste. And we just have cucumbers everywhere. So it's very, very strange. So now we're looking for a new couple, right? So from another hotel that I have in Texas, we're looking to hire a couple, and there were a few couples that just didn't make the cut, but there was one couple that I thought would be a really good fit for this property up in New York. So I interviewed them again. I asked them if they'd be interested in going into an asset in New York instead of going to Texas. They thought about it and they say, yeah, that's pretty good. And my partner decides to hire them instantly. And I'm like, whoa, what do we learn here? But, we need someone now. I'm like, no, we don't need someone now. We need someone that's right now. Right. So we don't want to make the same mistake. Like, I know I'm your mentor and I know you won't listen to me, and one of the reasons why they were so bananas is because they thought that my partner had no money. And because they didn't, she told them, I don't want to spend the $2,000 because we don't have any money. We don't have very much money in the hotel. I don't want to spend the money. So they assumed that I didn't have any money because they knew I was the partner, and they Googled me and they said, oh, this guy is this and she doesn't have any money. What the hell? They should be, loaded in cash. And the hotel, just because it makes money, but if you're trying to save $2,000, she was communicating openly with everything that was happening. And their perception was Marco must be broke because the hotel doesn't have the money to pay for the hotel to get rid of these two couples. Well, guess what's going to happen? We're going to extort these guys for $10,000, which makes no sense because I thought we didn't have any money, right? So I think they were just testing the waters to see what they could get away with, and it was extremely, extremely, extremely toxic, extremely toxic. So I'm like, what did you learn? And she was actually quite upset that I wouldn't hire these people at all until I did a criminal background check. So I said, get a background check done and then let's take a look at it. And I can tell you that this background check was as long as my arm. Like, we're talking like armed robbery. We're talking about, misdemeanors. We're talking about small felonies. We're talking about a huge list.
Well, hold on. Is this on the Bill and Ted couple that left? This is on the new couple that was coming in. Gotcha.
Oh, wow.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah. As long as my arm. And then she understood. Like, we were going to go right back to the same problem that we had before. It's like, well, we're closed. I'm like, do you want to be closed for a week or do you want to be closed forever? It's like, a week. How about 2 weeks or closed forever? 2 weeks. We're going to miss the ski season. Do you want to miss the ski season or do you want to lose the property? Which one do you want to do? Lose the ski season if we have to. Correct. So you can't have the ski season as the carrot to, and again, I understand COVID and it's been, at times have been tough, and the mountain is actually doing very well. We're getting a lot of traction. Calls when I was there, call after call after call. It's a very busy place. And I actually ended up meeting someone that walked in that got married there 20 years ago. Wow. They got married in the lodge. So it's a very well-known, well-revered place. People really love this place. So they want this place to work, these locals. And we don't want to rush putting someone in that's going to be garbage. We want someone that's going to give a lot of value, be part of the community. And people want to rely, is it open? Is it closed? Is it open? Is it closed? We can't just keep opening and closing, opening and closing. There's only 1,500 people, everyone knows what's going on, and it's hard to hide things. So yeah, and Frank, I know you have a hotel that's very similar in size actually, because this is a 27 room hotel, and I think you have 25 or 27 too. It's almost identical to the size that you have, with a live-in model and all these things. And I know and as I was helping you through through some trials and tribulations. I'm like, dude, you got to get rid of this guy or get rid of this because this is going to happen. And sure enough, it did. And it was really a good lesson in don't rush putting people in just to put them in. And at the end of the day, I'm going to take responsibility as ownership that had the boundaries been better, had I managed my partner's ability to manage those people better and really say this is what you can and what you can't do. I can't necessarily teach common sense. As you both know, common sense isn't common anymore with some of the things that we get asked. I'm like, are you really asking me this question? Like, seriously, say the question out loud and as if you're being asked the question and tell me how would you react. And they're like, I don't understand. I'm like, okay, well, fair. Where am I going with this? I'm going to take responsibility as ownership I should have had better practices in place on management. Now, you actually solved that when you were up for 4 days creating process manuals and process charts for your living managers. So you, Frank, actually have you're a step ahead. I'm going to give you kudos on this, in that we don't have as detailed a process in this lodge as we should. So it's happening now. Is what we're doing now is creating these processes, what to do, how to do it, learning how to use the point of sale system, which is tied into the ordering food, which is tied to reservations. It's a very complex system, at least for me, because I look at a computer and my eyes start rolling in the back of my head. But there's a lot of things that have to get done properly, and nobody knew how to use anything.
It's not just processes, it's controls too, because it sounds like the managers were able to cancel their reservations without any approvals or like it doesn't seem to have been any ownership involvement at all from a perspective of controlling the money. And you have to give them leeway, I understand that, and it's a business, so it's got to operate, but there has to be some sort of control, audit, or something in place to be able to catch on to these potential situations early enough, right? And I don't know if you have those instilled as well, Frank, but maybe you want to talk about that. But
I
there's
do,
definitely
actually.
a lack of controls that was going on here, where it looked like it was a free-for-all.
Yeah, I have, and most of us are reactive, and I learned from my thing. We can maybe get into it in a different episode, and I'll talk about it, what happened on my situation. But yeah, putting those mechanisms and having an audit, as an owner, you still got to do some work. And with the hotel, perhaps I'm a little bit more hands-on, but it's my baby. It's doing well, and we do have audits to check for situations where there's cancellations or they're bringing people in. We put a lot of things in place, and I put processes in place, videos, so I can have someone step in tomorrow, even if they don't have much knowledge, not that I would do that, and run the operations because of that. But it took 4 days of no sleep, a lot of coffee, a lot of booze, and I was scared shit because this is when COVID hit. So, Marco, I know how you felt, and it must have been terrible. But you learn from that. You learn from it, and how you make it better.
Yes, I don't see problems as problems. I see them as opportunities. Like, okay, in the heat of the moment, it was pretty stressful because obviously I don't want the place to be burned down. But I have a roof over my head. I have money in the bank. I have amazing friends, and I have my kids. I have my health, and shit happens. So what? And I have to go to New York at 6:00 in the morning. I have to wake up earlier than I want to. So what? I'm going to do whatever it takes. Just do what it takes. Do what comes next. That's one of my slogans, obviously. And you're going to be fine. And just like you, Frank, and you, Gabe, we've all dealt with adversity. With Gabe buying terrible assets when he first started, you just deal with it. You have, cantankerous folks around you. You deal with it. You have upset people. You deal with it. And it just makes you stronger. And it's not something I'm scared of. I'm actually glad it happened because it shows me where the problems are in the business. It shows me where the problems are in the management styles and the communication styles. It tells me that here are the boundaries that need to be addressed, and we can create processes around it so it never happens again. And thankfully, it never happens to anyone else. So I took the arrows, or Frank, you take the arrows, or Gabe, you take many arrows as well. It's for us to be able to never have that happen again. That's called growth.
And yeah, absolutely. And sharing that knowledge, with our followers is listen, we took the arrows, but if we can share it and save someone else from going through that whole agony, that's why the first question I asked is, did you do a background check? And that was, that was a flag, or someone coming in right away that, yeah, I'm ready. I can start tomorrow. That's a flag, right? Changing the merchant account. That's definitely a flag. But yeah, even having things like inside I think with your hotel, Marco, you have actually physical keys. And that's something that I learned is like, you know what, get rid of the physical keys because it's a pain in the ass. You could lose them. You have to replace them. And if the manager leaves where they're, a threat to your property and your guests, guess what? You're gonna have to change all those locks unless you have, the card swap or the card tap. And that's what I got at my hotels, where they can't do any funny business and let people in because each time they tap that card or activate that card, I have a record of it.
Yeah.
So it's all these little things that add up to. Again, you can't 100% protect. Like, you're not there. You can't 100%. But in the end, you have to trust your managers.
And these new managers that had this record, so obviously, just for those who don't know, when you have to do a background check, they have to fill out a form, right? And to give consent for that. Yeah. Knowing that you're doing this background check, did they upfront tell you that there would be issues coming out? So see,
nope.
And that's important because, not to say that you would hire them for sure, but if someone comes up front and is totally 100% upfront about what they've done and what they're going to be finding on this, and honest about it during the interview process, I think it gives, because people can change, and there is it's a sign of integrity, and I think it would have been a good way. So I'm assuming you just told them, listen, we can't hire you. You have all this baggage. You never told us.
And people can change, but it happened in 2020.
Oh,
and
well, that's okay.
So in 2018, and 2017, and 2016, right. And 2015, and 2014. I think 2012 they were pretty good.
That was what was supposed to be the end of the world at the time. That's why.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. And there's so many lessons here, and so many. We could go on for hours, and this is probably a 2-hour podcast by now. But it's again, you can't be scared of these problems. Frank, I know you've had stabbings, murders, people committing suicide, accidentally killing themselves in parks. Places burning down. There's so many things that could go wrong. So what?
Yep.
At the end of the day.
Well, you're right. Yes, I did have those. Thanks for reminding me. But it's just, it's life. We can't control people. We can't control the tenants. We'll do our best. We do background check even on our tenants. But you can't, in the end, you can't control everything. And some of them, were suicidal, and they had psychological issues. And some of them were a mistake. And, don't clean your gun with bullets and in the gun.
Oh my God.
Pointing at your stomach. That's a no-no. But you're going to have that. But how you come across, like how you deal with it, I think is where it makes you stronger, actually, in the end. Because right now, yes, I'm very cautious on who's there. When I acquire a property, I look how the management is. I look deeply into the tenants. If they have background, can they support their income? Do we get pay stubs? So I'm wiser at it, and I'm grateful for it. But did I get heart pulsations back then? Yes, I did. It's a scary moment, but you got to just slap yourself together and say, okay, what am I going to do about it? There's no use curling up in a fetal position, sucking your thumb, doing nothing, because nothing's going to get accomplished.
But what business doesn't have its problems, right? I mean, this is sort of, the real estate industry's potential issues, but if you're in any other business, you're going to have other problems. So the problems are part of the journey, really, and it's just how you deal with them that's going to determine, I guess, your altitude in your specific business. So we've all dealt with them, and we're going to probably continue to deal with them. I think just as long as our processes and systems and controls become stronger as we get over these problems, that's what's going to make us, better at our business.
Beat selling tires.
Oh my God, does it ever?
Like, I take this problem any day of the week for the lifestyle that we have,
Yeah.
The cash flows, the tax breaks, all the benefits. For me to have this small of a problem over a weekend and a couple days after that, I'll take it any day of the week. I do 10 of those. I do a year of that.
And you got to spend time with 3 men, armed men.
And the stories they have are incredible. Like I created new relationships with these guys, and they they are phenomenal humans. Like, I know they are very dangerous humans, and I would not want to be on the opposite side of the pistol, if you will. The stick. I want to be on next to them, not across from them. But the stories they have are just incredible, and the things that they've gone through, incredible, and the growth from struggle. It's you can't have growth without a little bit of struggle. They've seen some shit, they've gone through some shit, and it makes them just happier people. Anyone that doesn't do anything or goes anywhere or is scared of everything and doesn't want to do everything. I was speaking to someone 2 days ago that is always wanted to start a business, but he's like, I'm an employee mentality. I don't want to take the risk of opening up a business, but I hate my job. So, and my answer to that was, you're risking your life in the job that you hate. You're actually, that is terrifying to me, to do something every single day that you hate because you are scared of something that might or might not happen. And we had a conversation around it, but he didn't understand what I was trying to say. Maybe I didn't say it right, but would you rather be stuck in a job that you hate for the rest of your life, or at least give it a shot? And no, it might not work your way. I didn't think I would be in this position 10 years ago, where you are now, Gabe. You didn't expect what, you don't know what's going to happen in the future. At least my crystal ball broke a few years ago in the 80s. I can't get it to work. I don't know about you, Frank, but I can't get mine to work. It's just shit happens, deal with it and grow from it and enjoy it. Enjoy the ride, because that's what life is. And don't stay stuck in the crap that you're in, just because you'll only make what you're making for the rest of your life. And if you're okay with that, then that's fine. But don't complain. Then start loving your job, because that's what you've chosen. The person you wake up next to, you've chosen that. The job that you have, you've chosen that. Maybe not your kids, but everything you have in life is a choice, and you can change it as soon as you choose.
Yeah, you're exactly where you're supposed to be with all your decisions. So,
you chose to be there, right?
Yeah,
absolutely. All right. Well, so this is not a 10-hour podcast, gentlemen. Appreciate your input and feedback. This podcast was definitely a product of some arrows, and again, I'm grateful for them. I'm not upset. I'm grateful, and I'm also grateful for you two, Frank and Gabe. You guys are like my brother from another mother. I appreciate you both. And of course, you, the listener. If it wasn't for you, we'd be just talking to nobody, and that would suck. And I appreciate you very much for giving great comments, sharing this with people that you care about, and just helping other humans achieving financial independence through cash flowing assets, through thick and thin. Shit's going to happen, so what? There's someone that knows how to handle it, and we did, and it's game over now. We actually hired yesterday. We hired the perfect couple, passed the background check, no problem. And so we're going to be open by Tuesday, so we're pretty excited about that.
If you like this episode of Big Fat Real Estate Checks, then show some love by leaving a comment and a good rating. Also, as a thank you for tuning in today, we've got a special free gift. The journey to passive cash flow for a life starts by finding deals, and it's easier than you think. Simply go to getdealsbytuesday.com, enter your email address, and we'll send you a free quick start course called Deals by Tuesday. Even if it's 11 p.m. Monday night, this course will show you how to find discounted real estate deals by Tuesday. It's that fast and simple. Go to getdealsbytuesday.com and start your journey toward life-changing cash flow today. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you on the next episode.